Father, thank you for your scriptures. It's one thing to whisper those prayers and sing, but it's another thing to check our gut before you and to not make this just a little hour thing, but to make our walk with you something that is daily, it is hourly, it is minutes, it is moment by moment. May we worship you through your words and through the events of the last couple weeks that I think you were speaking to me. Thank you for hearing our prayers as you promised in your scriptures. Amen. All right. Speaking of moments that I felt spoken to, we'll get to the passage in just a second. I think I told a story about driving a white donated van from here to Discovery on cruise control. That was a spiritual moment. Anybody remember that story? That was a couple months ago. All right. So we were here last weekend. I got to drive a white donated van back to Discovery. Not back to, but another one. So it's great, wonderful. So donated van was going to Discovery Ministries. Got a new battery in it like 2 months before we went. Good to go. Oil change, solid. 2 spark plugs and 2 coils. Van is running top notch. Washed it, vacuumed it. Hallelujah. All right. We get to Memphis. Filled up on gas. We went to the same Chick-fil-A, by the way, that we went to in June in Memphis with all of you because we were like, oh, we were just here, it feels like. Filled up the belly, filled up the car, ready to roll. Walk out the door, it's starting to mist. I'm wearing shorts, it's 55 degrees. Van doesn't start. White van. Shauna's got the car cranked in our van. It's warm. She's ready to roll. We're all ready to go. We're all, fat and happy and like, let's get there. This was probably our last stop maybe. What the heck? So van's apparently dead. Get the jump box out of the back. Click on the battery. Nothing. Dead as a doornail. Like, this can't be right. Brand new battery. Call up Mr. Eric, Mr. Mechanic guy. Say, what's the deal, man? Do you have a fuse on a starter? Like, is that possible? Because there's nothing. There's no juice going to this thing. And he said, well, you put a new battery in it, right? And I said, yeah. He's asking me the questions. Do you have lights? Do you have anything? I'm saying there's nothing. Like, no, nothing. So flashlight at this point, shorts. Like, why did the rest of my family wear pants? And it's cold up here in the north and I wore shorts. I don't know, but frustrating. Cold and tired. I wasn't hungry, but this situation's going south because at this point, you just want to get on the road. So fast forward, when I put the new battery in, this is the terminal clamp, and the nut was rusted, so I couldn't loosen the tension on it, right? I just pried it off, and what every good battery installer does when you put it back on, you push it, and you take the wrench that you're using, and you hit it, and it's on, good to go. All right. So somehow that came up in conversation with Eric, and he said, dude, your negative on your battery's not grounded. That's the problem, because it would spark. AutoZone, new terminal, put it on, good to go. I had taken my pocket knife, though, and I scraped the inside of this thing to try to make sure no rust. And I'm like, man, it's bright, shiny metal. It's on a brand new battery post. Why isn't this working? It wasn't tight enough. So I didn't buy a brush. I ended up taking the frayed copper, right? By the way, galvanized metal usually doesn't rust. Copper doesn't rust. Brass doesn't rust, right? You tracking with me? Aluminum doesn't rust. What? Copper oxidizes. That's the problem, but it's usually on the positive side. So I took out the frayed copper out of underneath this other side because these bolts moved, and I took my pocket knife and I'm dragging it through the frayed ends. Why this is the tool of all things, I don't know. To get all this crap out, rust. That's from this metal that's been squeezed against it for all this time. So this is clearly spiritual. I'm seeing that all your eyeballs are saying you're tracking with me right now. Because, why is it spiritual? So the word is grounded. The van's electrical. Our bodies are electrical. Like, there are many ways that if you're not grounded, no good, no bueno. All right? And what got me, I guess, in that moment was everything looked good on the van. Washed, vacuumed, new battery, oil, everything that you would normally say was good. Everything looked good. But you get a little bit below the surface, especially underneath this one clamp, and there's a little crust, a little bit of rust, a little bit of corrosion, so much so that this one nut that made all the difference in the world on this bolt wouldn't even move because it was stuck. My prayer for a conversation tonight, and that this book that we use week in and week out, day after day in our lives, is that we don't get stuck. Because my thought this week was that my first week doing this, your first week doing this, I told Matt, did you want me to journal every day? You asked, I got other stuff I'm reading, okay? You want me to read every day, Matthew 3 through 10? It's too much. I can't do this. And I guess it just got me thinking when I thought about this, because I knew that this kind of smacked me in the face, everything might look good. But if you're stuck and you're corroded and you are so set in your ways that other stuff can't make you grow, can't make you adjust yourself, can't make you check yourself, it's a problem. First John is where I wanted to start tonight, I think. Yeah. Can anybody quote for us first, before we go to 1 John? Can anybody quote Micah 6:8? Come on, you've seen it all over Etsy and Pinterest. Because I desire mercy, not sacrifice.
There's a second half.
What does the Lord require of you, O man? To do justice. Huh? Close.
Walk humbly in his ways.
Walk humbly, do justice, and? Huh? And love mercy, right? Kind of a goofy way of each of those things that are phrased. I jokingly, but I mean realistically say it's all over Pinterest, it's all over Etsy. It was Henry Ballard's favorite verse. He told us that in here. I quoted that. Life verse. Justice, mercy, and kindness and love. Like those are the big things, and be humble. I prayed that at my graduation from Police Academy. I said that prayer. I remember that. So big verse, popular verse, but that's Hesed, and it is in the Old Testament 250 times. Okay? Clearly a popular word. So we used to always say, if you want to understand the New Testament, you got to go to the Old Testament. Well, shebango tonight. To understand the Old Testament, we're going to go to the New Testament. Okay? 1 John, chapter 4. The old reminder, context before content. I sometimes get nervous about doing New Testament stuff. I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. And I look and look and look, and I'm reading, and I don't know, Paul, sometimes makes me nervous about his stuff, but I get into this and I started looking at why is this all about love? Chapter 3, chapter 4, like there's several references to the idea of love. And if you know John's gospel, it doesn't surprise you because that's a common theme in there. But the interesting thing is you go through all the epistles, all of Paul's letters, and you get to 1 John because you're getting towards the end of the book as it's arranged, and you say, oh, was this a letter? And the reality was it wasn't a letter addressed to somebody. And a lot of you probably heard the phrases general revelation or specific revelation. It's kind of a theology thing. The idea is all the letters, all the epistles were written to a specific place, at a specific time, to a specific group, with a certain struggle, topic, etc. Right? We all get that. All right. This was not that way. It was written and it was used in a general way in basically present-day Turkey. It's called Asia Minor. Okay? It was used in the whole area, but it wasn't to a specific group. It was very general. And if you look at the topics, like chapter 3 was full of a bunch of them, there are very general topics. So what it reminded me of is, this is pretty much for all of us, for all mankind. You don't have to debate the specific way it's addressed to a person, to a group, to a location. This is everybody. This was, again, a common theme through John's writings. If you get towards the end of chapter 4, like verse 7, I'm assuming your Bible says God is love above it. The section, you tracking with me? All right, verse 7. So I got to reading this, and the place I got stuck was, verse 20, right towards the end. Chapter 4, verse 20. If anyone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he's a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. So I had to break that down, figure out some words in there. I thought some of them were pretty easy to understand, but then this one smacked me in the face. Brother. A few weeks ago, I was up here and I talked about the idea of what you do for your enemy versus what you do for your friend. That was kind of still fresh in my mind when I looked at the word brother. And I assumed, and I don't know about you, you probably know the reference to brother, the Adelpho word, like brotherly love, Philadelphia, that kind of thing. So, but when I looked at that, it was very interesting. This blew my mind. The easy thing to ask yourself is, okay, who does this apply to? If I don't love my brother, oh, okay, that's going to be a Christian, that's going to be a believer, whatever label you want to put on it. But then I also have to think like, okay, Jared Johnson, he lives in Indianapolis, he's 3 years older than me, we grew up together, right? Same name. Okay, that's that kind of idea. It's not the only thing it's about. It is also includes or can apply to someone in your city or your neighborhood. It can literally apply to anybody that you have a connection with. So if you live in the same neighborhood, Lindley and I live in the same neighborhood, that connects us just because we're neighbors. We're Shalmatians. Some of you other Arabians, violations, whatever, like you don't live in our neighborhood. So we're connected. It said if you're connected geographically, that is one way of looking at the word brother. And then what it also said was, if someone is an associate of yours at work, you can view that person as your brother. The cubicle right next to you, whatever you want to call it. Other people in your office, you may be as different from them as Adam, I don't know them, black and white, yin and yang, oil and water, whatever you want to say. But the reality is you are connected to them because you're in the same place or you have an association with them. I said, man, this is in school. This is true. If you're classmates, it's true. If your kids play ball together with somebody else, you are connected with them because you both wear the same Cardinals from, what's it called? Versailles, right? That park. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay, you're tracking with me? Local sports. All right, if you're on the same ball team, if you're on the same swim team, Versailles? Is that what you're laughing at? Versailles? Versailles?
That's what they say, Versailles.
I know, I've been connected both ways.
Versailles.
Saint Bernard. Correct that. So anyway. Huh?
It's Versailles.
Right. Regardless of the pronunciation, you're still brothers. Regardless of what they believe in. That's what blew my mind. It's so easy to look at this and say, it has to be with a common person in faith. And the reality is, if you have an association with them, going back to what I said about John, this is general teaching for humanity. This isn't necessarily limited in my scope to say, oh my gosh, only a Christian person is going to understand this. Because if you go back to verse 20, the first part, I love God, hates his brother, he's a liar. Well, that is basically a hypocrite. And all of humanity, it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, you can be a hypocrite by the things that you say versus the way that you act. And you're talking out of two sides of your mouth. The other word that got me stuck here was not just brother, but it was liar. That word in the back to the Old Testament. Yeah, in the Greek translation of the Old Testament. Septuagint. It is only used 3 times total in the Bible. The word liar. Once in the New Testament, twice in the Old. Well, guess where we're going? Next one is Psalms 116. Whoops. So let me read that verse 11 if you're there.
I said in my haste, all men are liars.
That's it. I said in my haste is your translation? All right. Mine says alarm. Anybody else?
Dismay.
In my dismay? What? Alarm? Okay. Another one said panic. So in my alarm, in my panic, that's setting the stage for the mindset and the mood that the person is in this decision or in this moment. Are you catching it? Like no bueno. It's not a good state to be in. It's a reaction because in my panic, in my alarm, I was freaked out and then I said, okay, all mankind are liars. That's interesting to me because that says in your decision-making moment, we always want to know, right? What kind of mind space, what kind of headspace were you in when you just said something, when you thought of somebody, when you, whatever. All right, a couple days ago, I'm sitting in the office and I get a text from the radio room that says, you need to call this person, their dad died. And I was like, I hate doing funerals. I didn't want to don't do a funeral. Please, I don't even want to call this guy. This is frustrating. So it said it in the text, and that means when I get that means that they called there, but they don't want to give my personal cell number out, but that means I have to call the person. Frustrating. And I can't ignore it because that's my job, and they told me to do it, so there's a record of it. It's in the text. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, frustrated. So I remember I sat back, and I had my hands up on my head, and I looked at my computer, and I looked at my desktop phone, landline phone, yeah, like we have those anymore. And there was a red dot was on, the red light was on, the voicemail light. I was like, all right, let me check a different call so I can distract myself from calling this guy back. And I pushed the button. Guess who it was? The same guy. Hey, Aaron, can you give me a call, man? I need to talk to you about something. But he didn't say the dad thing. And so I'm like, oh man, shoot. He's made the effort to look up my extension and also to call the radio room because he didn't get in touch with me. Frustrating. All right. I don't want to do this. I got this I'm worried about because everybody thinks I'm a great speaker. I got stuff to do. I don't have time for this. I'm going to be out of town next weekend at a great church retreat. Like, I'm not doing a funeral.
Question, isn't that your job?
Right. That's the problem. So then, because I'm a good speaker, man. He wants me at his funeral. That's the problem. All right. So I went in the other room by myself because I didn't want to hear this. Took my cell phone and I found a scratch piece of paper and I wrote his name and I called him. Hey, man. Yeah, I got a message, man. I'm sorry to hear about your dad. Yeah, man. I appreciate that. And I was like, here it goes. He says, hey, do you have so-and-so's phone number? And it's a guy that he retired from here, from St. Bernard. I said, yeah, I think I can get a hold of him. And he says, well, my dad and him were partners years and years back. I just wanted to make sure he knew about this. Can you let him know we're having the funeral at a Methodist church, blah, blah, blah?
Your prayers are answered?
No, my prayers were not answered. My jerk self was so presumptuous, selfish, and I projected on him because I was too nice to him this summer and thought, he likes me, he wants me to do a funeral for his dad. This guy, I wrote all the details down. He had it all planned out. It's tomorrow, it's on the North Shore, it's at a church, they got people, whatever. All he wanted me to do was make a phone call, A. B, he's in a state of mind where he's handling all these details, he's getting this funeral planned, and he has the wherewithal to be compassionate and call an old man and say, man, I know you and my dad were close. Just wanted to make sure that you knew about this. In my panic, I pushed some serious negativity on him, and I retain a lot up here, but I pushed it on him. I'm embarrassed to tell you that story because I was so frustrated by the time the phone call was answered and I wrote it down. I was just like, dude, that's a jerk moment. I tell you that because the word liars is not just saying untruths. The word liar, if you look up the definition of the one that's in 1 John, is faithless man. The last time we were over at the gathering in the big room and I talked about faith, it was all about your actions. It's not just what comes out of your mouth, but it's what you do, right? And we painted that picture of what is faith. And I thought, man, if I'm pushing these negative thoughts on somebody, it's not saying that they're a hypocrite necessarily only, or that they say a mistruth. It's just pushing, they are faithless. Their actions, it's a bad deal of projection. So that was my thought this week of, what do I do? Where does my mind go? Because all of us have a filing cabinet. So as soon as you hear that someone died, this is where Aaron's brain goes. As soon as you hear a name, we all do this. As soon as you hear someone's name, you can think of a story about them, good, bad, or indifferent. The only other time it's used, the word liar, is in Proverbs, chapter 19. Somebody want to read that when you get there? 19:22.
What a man desires is unfailing love. Better to be poor than a liar.
Read the first stanza again, please.
What What a man desires,
What a man desires is what?
unfailing love.
Unfailing love. Okay, what a man desires. Okay, so the apostrophe, what a man desires. So that's talking about an individual, right? What I figured out about this is it's actually referring to humanity. It doesn't mean what Breyer's desire is. Somebody else got a different translation? I'll show you.
What is desirable in a man is his kindness.
Okay, what is desirable in a man? That's a different way of looking at it. It's a state of like, what is desirable about that guy right there is his kindness. It doesn't mean Breyer's desire is. That's what I caught on was these translations are different. It shows it two different ways. And that's why I put man's desire or desired in a man. This is what we want to see in a man. All right? Does anybody have another one?
What is desired in a man is steadfast love, and a poor man is better than a liar.
So that finally said steadfast love, and that's what we're getting to. NIV, anybody?
Mine says loving commitment.
Says what?
Loving commitment.
Loving commitment? But what does it say about man or man?
What is desired? What is desirable in a man is his loving commitment.
What is desirable in a man? Okay. 1922. What a man desires. Okay. There's three. This is what I want to get to. I knew some of you would have the NIV. I knew some of you would have the funky Jewish one, but here goes the funky police one. 1922. Police. Tactical version.
Spiritual warfare.
Yeah. I read from this several weeks ago. Anyway, 1922. Loyalty is desirable in a person, and it is better to be poor than a liar. I meant to change that word. Loyalty is desired in a person. It struck me that all these were different because it's again, it goes back to the singular. It's not the singular. It's the general. It's the humanity. We can observe this in everybody. But if you go to the second half of it, the second half of the verse, a poor man is better than a liar. The word poor, it's so easy to think money, right? A couple of years ago, like 3 or 2 years ago, Conley took a bunch of us through a book called When Helping Hurts. And the whole book painted the picture that it's not just about financial poverty that people are in. So often you're in social poverty when there's broken relationships. You're in emotional poverty when you go through a tough time and you're sad. Blew my mind because I think poverty, I think money. That's all there is to it. The word poor in this, the definition of it is if you covet, okay, that's coveting. That goes back to old, 10 Commandments. Don't covet your neighbor. That's a whole different thing. It shows desire. It also means if you wish for something. So if you feel like you're without, it is better to be in that state than it is to be a liar, a faithless man. It also means lust. Okay, well, the mind goes straight to, sexual or whatever. But the reality is all of those words to paint the picture of poor just means that there's a desire that's not being met. And the verse says it is better to be in a state of want of desire than it is to be a faithless man. Fascinating.
This book says a man's lust is his shame, and a poor man is better than a liar.
That is totally different.
Is his shame.
A man's lust is his shame. Oh, man. I did tell you to get that. All right. So you look at, all right. So trying to dig in that passage, looking at the idea of what it means to live out faith, what is the condition of our heart, I guess is the question mark, and what does all this have to do with the word Hesed? We play this video.
Good evening. I was talking with Mr. Johnson about the word Hesed. He asked me to send some information that I use and how I look at Hesed in my lifestyle. Hesed is a word in my studies that I came across from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. He used it in one of his books, and I read about the importance of Hesed in our life. Hesed in the Hebrew meaning, to me, means loving kindness. As we go through our life's challenge, if we use Hesed in every step of our way, we're able to enrich our lives and bring hope to people that they see through us what the Messiah has called us to do, to become the humble servant. There's a few words that go with Hesed in my life. I place charity, justice, and clarity are examples of explaining Hesed as you use it through your life. Some other words that I've tied to it is trust, faith, and love. With Hesed, each day, we can make a difference with the people we interact with and bring blessings to their lives by being a Hesed believer and follower of the Word. It's exactly as I see the Messiah would call us to be. That would be the choice of Hesed as a lifestyle to change and enrich people's lives. Have a good evening and enjoy the rest of Mr. Johnson's study of Hesed. Thank you.
That guy texted me this, okay? The same thing, but in a text. So let me just repeat what he just said. He said, Hesed is the foundation of faith, trust, and love. Much less of charity, justice, and clarity. And that rocked me to think to myself, it is so easy to throw around the words faith, trust, and love. We see it all the time. We use it. We talk about it. People, you're a person of faith, all those kinds of things. Faith, faith, faith. And it struck me when he said Hesed is the foundation of it. It comes before that. You can't be a person of faith if you don't have the condition of the heart, that you give a crap about anything else besides yourself. And then when he listed charity, justice, those are the words that we see in Micah 6:8, but he said the word clarity. And it blew me away to think, if you don't have this condition of Hesed in your heart, you can't see clearly. Probably because all you can see is your own self and your own desires and your own selfishness, your own whatever's right in front of your own face. And then he said, it's all encompassing in our life skills and it challenges us every day to see what Christ sees. Okay, if I can be frank with you, it challenges us every day with Christ. I get that. We are supposed to be a church community right here. If we're not challenged to be more like Christ, then what are we doing? That's a given. Let me back up and say this again. It is all encompassing in our life skills. What comes to mind when I say life skills? What have you heard that applied to?
Think of the things that you need to know.
Yeah. To
live
what?
your life, to live your life well, to live it productively.
Uh-huh.
To live it well.
You're right, how to live your life well, but I would even back up a step and say basically live your life. And I say that because, what?
I said to be an adult.
To be an adult, that's it. And it's because when we were at Crossroads, there was a program that was supposed to disciple people. That's what it was called, disciple. Well, it was basically life skills. How to balance a checkbook, how to write a check. Well, we all know that's antiquated. Basically, have a budget, and this is how you use a debit card and not use a debit card. But another one is how to take a suitcase or a duffel bag, look in your closet, put items in it that make sense, and then go on a trip. Those are life skills instead of just picking stuff up off the floor, throwing it in there, you get to your destination, you got 10 pairs of pants and no shirts. That is a life skill. Do you know how to do that? Okay.
We're working on that.
A second thing was grocery shopping. It takes a life skill to walk into a store, put some things together in the cart that go together, and you get home and you have a balanced, somewhat semblance of healthy life instead of just candy bars, life, good, belly full, I'm good. Life skills. So when I read Bill's text, I said, it is all encompassing. It is your basic life skills. To live a good life, to live life well, you have to have Hesed ingrained in it. Because if you walk into a grocery store or you go on a trip or you interact with other people and you are a jerk and you project negativity and a piss poor attitude on everybody, you will not function well. You will not have more customers. You will not have people give you any type of good feedback or a review or whatever type of relationship and functional conversations you're having with people back and forth. Your enrollment will go down, like your nonprofits will close. Everything that you do cannot function if you don't have a decent mindset and a decent heart condition to go along with it. I don't know if you ever got a text message from Bill, but he would sign it Hesed. I would ask him a question, or how's Miss Linda been doing, the last year with stuff? And he signed off, hope your family's doing well, Hesed. Yeah. This week, I probably had 5 or 6 phone calls and conversations with people specifically about one homeless lady in St. Bernard. And she's sleeping on the bench by the Shell station at Judge Perez and Paris Road. It brought up a whole bunch of conversations with people because it's basically humanity, right? Everybody wants to cure homelessness, etc. I'm sitting in the office this week and picked up local tabloid, St. Bernard News, and it's about this guy in New Orleans that put a bunch of money up to do a big crawfish boil at Covenant House, one of the local missions in the city. He did a survey. Did I put that up there, that picture? They did a survey. You can find this online. And the pie graphs at the bottom show they asked 500 homeless people in New Orleans, Orleans Parish, questions such as, do you want to be homeless? And the overwhelming pie graph says no. Then they said, if someone asked you about your dreams, would you share it with them? Overwhelming, yes. These are the types of questions, right? The problem was, we probably sent 10 different deputies to talk to this lady, from entry-level deputy to 2 or 3 lieutenants, to a phone call from the sheriff, to his assistant, to my boss. Go handle it. Do something about this. So the guy that deals with our addiction centers, and he knows what the homeless places will take if you have an addiction or any type of mental situation, he went and talked to her twice. I was on the phone with him multiple times. It started to check me in my stomach and say, what is your heart condition? What is your attitude about this? I'll be honest, I never once went and talked to her. Yesterday, I made a phone call to the hospital because they decided the ambulance had come to check her out. We call it a psych eval. You just basically have to ask somebody, you know. It takes the liability off sheriff's office, let's be honest. But a person needs medical attention as a human before they need anything else. So she was going to take her out of from the ambulance to check her out. I called the hospital and I said, I'm not trying to get in her business. I am not trying to ask private information. Do you have family that we can get in touch with to help connect the dots? There's a ministry in New Orleans that we have supported, the Gathering, and their main money outlay is bus tickets. They buy bus tickets to send people back to their families because there's all kinds of resources here, but the answer is restoration. That's their heartbeat. I can't agree more. So this is on my mind. I'm calling this lady, and she says, I'm sorry, that lady doesn't want help. And I said, excuse me? She said, we've been dealing with her for years. She does not want to go see her family. She does not want to go to a shelter. She does not want to be bothered. She wants to be left alone. And if you call her family, multiple family members, she said, I kid you not, they will hang up the phone when they find out it's about her. So all this is going through my head this week, asking the question, what is a heart condition? Apparently, and I don't say this out of judgment, there are hundreds of people in St. Bernard Parish that are concerned about this person. And I had these sweet ladies telling me like, I'll pay. I had a lady, I just saw her today, she said, I will pay for her to have a shower at the hotel on Paris Road if she can just go get cleaned up. And I'm thinking to myself, you're compassionate, you're generous, but you don't understand the real issue here. And it comes back to the heart issues. There's all these people that want to help. So I say all that, and I don't have any type of resolution to that comment.
Wait, you lost me. So they want to help.
Sorry.
Whose heart condition? Hers?
I question everybody wants to do something about it, but we wanted the quick fix. Like, we got a call that said, Jimmy, that's the sheriff, you should do something about this. You need to fix this. I'm sorry. If there's anything that we all know, it's don't take someone's civil rights away if they haven't broken the law. The lady's not a criminal.
Right.
We don't have homeless shelters in St. Bernard Parish, period of end of story. You know this. She has been to several in the city. So what I'm saying is, you taught me this, people are survivors. They're not in this situation out of nowhere. This lady's been like this. I didn't know this we've been dealing with her in St. Bernard, unbeknownst to me, for over 6 months, almost a year. My question is not to judge her, but something is up with her heart and her state of mind and all that stuff. But I'm asking myself, is this just me on the surface saying I need to be concerned about homelessness because that's what humans do? Or do I really need to be concerned not just at the surfacey answer of helping her, but what's underneath it? Do you have the other two pictures? Did I leave them up there? All right, go to the first one. What do you think? What do you see in the picture?
Grandma's curtains.
Grandma's curtains. Are they nice curtains? Yeah, nice curtains. Yeah.
Privacy.
What else do you see? Oh, privacy. Yeah. Nice window treatments.
Something keeping you from the
I
left.
can make it a confession, Catholic confession.
It looks like it.
Yes.
Hiding.
The walls are painted.
Privacy.
Nice privacy. Like they're decent looking curtains. They're a little bit funny like grandma, but they're functional. Yes, it's hiding some of the light.
But if the whole
Huh?
point is to keep out light, it's not.
I am too, but that's what my
They're not my curtains. Do you notice that
Thanks, guys.
the crown molding is in place?
No, it's not yes.
Not ev-
Nice.
That looks nice. Not everybody has crown molding in their house. I'm like, that's a decent looking picture, right? The only thing that I look at this and I think besides the curtains that might be a little stale is it does have a popcorn ceiling, which by the way, wasn't just for style years ago. Did you know this? That's for sound deadening. That's why that was put in for acoustics years back. Yeah. Decent looking picture, right? Huh?
Sure. Now people are paying to get that stuff removed.
Exactly. Right. Come in with a scraper and huh? You can't see out of it. It was a bedroom. So the point was privacy, by the way. Some of you guys are talking about light and privacy. It worked, and this part was nice. This was not the only part, though. Next picture. That was the floor, or the first 12 inches of the room. That's the Lindell house, guys. The drywall, the baseboard, the insulation was wet and rotten and black, parts of it. If you look at the outlets and above and the nice window, vinyl windows, everything's good. There's actually window treatments that like everything is good, functional, and it's actually above average. But then you look down and you realize the foundation of this joint's bad. The leaking has led to water damage, which has led to more foundation damage. The base plate of the walls is now rotten. All right. I don't know what the answer is for a homeless person that doesn't want help. You can quote me all day long, you can quote studies and surveys all day long and say, this is what we should be doing, blah, blah, blah. We should have crawfish boils for the Covenant House. Great. I guess I got three ways I want to end. Everything might look good. You might look good. I might look good from a certain vantage point. But you might have some rot and some black and some water damage that has done a number on you in a certain area of your life. You might think that you need an adjustment and it's easy to make an adjustment. But if you're stuck in the rust, if you're stuck in your ways and you're a jackass about it, can I say that? I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And if you have something in the way from you making a good connection, whether it's with yourself and the honest, true self who you are, and with God who wired you that way and gave you a story with previous chapters in your life, and you're not willing to efface that, and you don't have a good connection, there's going to be a problem. That's the old classic, if there's a breakdown here, there's going to be a breakdown here. And if you're not willing to maybe peel back the onion a little bit, lift the lid, take something out and clean it because it's under the surface, you may not have a good connection. You may not work to your best potential. And you might be fat and happy in your belly, stuck in Memphis, Tennessee, not being able to get to the next spot, your destination. I was frustrated on the surface that I have a new journal I have to do now, and I messed up my other journal and my other Bible reading plan because Matt wants me to read Matthew 3-10 because it starts with Matthew. That's what I thought.
I thought the same.
Really?
And then I called him and I said, and by the way, Allie, I told you by email a long time ago, you did a fantastic job on this. A lot of work went into this. If you are in a spot right now where you don't want a new journal plan or you don't want a new reading plan because you got your stuff figured out, well, maybe you need to be disrupted a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what God's trying to do with you right now or what opportunity you need. But if you're not reading and you're not journaling You have a place to scribble your thoughts and what is going on in your heart and your mind and what God is doing through His Spirit on your heart. I said to him, what I realized was to read Matthew chapter 3 took less than 5 minutes. And then the next day and the next day. And I have a couple days I did journal and a couple days I didn't. It took less than 5 minutes to do that. Most of us, I don't know, most of us spend a lot more than 5 minutes doing that with our thumb exercises every day. Nora and I downloaded a chess app on my phone. So she and I can sit down and we play the computer together. Oh, that's so sweet, Aaron. You're doing something with your daughter. You're exercising your brain. No, I spend a lot more time on that, and I'm not willing to do a simple Bible reading to check my gut with what God's trying to prompt. I'm not willing to spend 5 minutes a day sometimes with something like this, or how many different versions of this do I need to read it? I guess I'm trying to tell you, I don't know if I have a very good understanding or at least an application of the word Hesed. My heart breaks and it makes me cry when I think about Bill's story, because there's plenty of conversations that Matt and I have had that dude is not perfect, but it is a powerful and humbling and beautiful and very courageous thing that he has done over the years to unpack who he is and what God's definition of a good heart is. I regretted that this Lauren Daigle song just now started with listening to the voices that tell you you're not enough, because my heart breaks for these two little blondes that I fuss. And I'm realizing there's a difference in corrective parenting and fussing parenting. There's a difference in talking to some of you guys and being honest with you and saying, oh, what about this and what about that? And you know the difference. I'm venting versus I'm just pissing and moaning. And it's ugly. There's probably conversations I should have to apologize for that attitude, the negativity. And Shauna's in Texas this weekend, and if I could be frank, she texted me and said, you're really negative. And that sucks to hear that from your spouse. I'm assuming a few other people have seen it as well. Hesed is about a connection. It is about the condition of your heart. And I don't know what the application is for you this week, but I was finding it left and right, if you couldn't tell, about who I am and my walk and my mindset. Amen.